Hello. Today I want to respond to a section of a conversation where Britt Hartley, which I just learned about today, went on Soul Boom with Rainn Wilson, and they spoke about spiritual atheism. She's into spiritual atheism. And I just want to respond to a moment that I saw in a short because I thought it was a really interesting, thought-provoking set of statements. Let's begin, shall we?
And then we go into story, not as truth, but as a place to play. And so mystics will read I read all the holy texts because these are all playgrounds to explore what I am, to see parts of my ego, to see my blind spots, to see my shadow, to see all of that. And so mystics will read Jesus and read Buddha and read the Bhagavad Gita and read the Quran and read anything, but they're not doing it for truth or historicity or what is God. They're doing it as a playground to explore your soul space. It's a mirror, and all the characters are you. And it absolutely transformed the way that I read scripture. And so you can go back, even now, I'll still read the parables of Jesus, even as an atheist, because when you are all the characters, it becomes less about like we're right and you're wrong over here and we do this and you do that. When you're all the characters, the scriptures change, the parables change.
By the way, I think this monkey painting on the right here is fun. So she talks about going into various holy texts as playgrounds to explore and self-develop. Now, I appreciate that she puts it so plainly here that she's not approaching these texts as a means of finding historicity or truth, but that she's using it as a way to self-develop. And she even says that it's a mirror and all the characters are you. I think that's an important recognition. A lot of people would not state that clearly in that way. One thing that I think is important to note is that she's talking about self-development. And the assumption there would be that she's trying to move in a good direction. She has goals for herself, and she's trying to develop into something good, move towards more good in herself. And I'll point out that, for example, if I watch something like Lord of the Rings, I am doing something similar to what she's referring to here. I'm looking at the different characters and I'm trying to see what things I would like to integrate in myself about these characters, things that I admire about the characters, things that are reminders to me of what are good things to be and do more of. What I think she's doing here with her worldview and her approach to the biblical text is she's rejecting the truthfulness, the objective truthfulness, and the historical reality that the biblical texts are presenting to us. She's rejecting the premises of the authors, the ones who wrote these texts. She's putting those things aside. She's choosing a completely different route. And by doing that, she's severing herself from a moral foundation that is objective. But then she is using these texts to develop into a gooder version of herself. But at this point, what is gooder? What does growth actually mean? How is B better than A? Now, in the book, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, there is I think a very beautiful quote in there that says, "The hands of the king are the hands of a healer." This is referring to Aragorn, and it has context around it. Now, I believe the reason why that quote is compelling is because it is grounded in the objective morality of a biblical worldview. If you took away the biblical worldview and that objective morality, there would be no reason to see this as compelling. That's my point. And I think this is a very overtly self-focused approach to interacting with the texts of the Bible. She's taking something found in the world that everybody can interact with, and she's saying the way that I think is good to interact with these texts is for me to use them as a means to see myself in the characters of the texts and things that are said and find my own conclusions within myself about these texts. What would be the ways that I would like to choose to change myself with these as a guide for me? It's individualistic. I believe that the Bible is self-authenticating as the truth, as written by God. And if you do self-development and miss our purpose, our design, which is to love our Creator, then you have ultimately missed the point. That's about it for this one. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.